We want to welcome everybody to this space. We want to start off by saying why we're here today. So Every Child in C and Narrative Arts and our partners are excited to welcome you today. And we are super excited for this special screening of Resolution, Hoke County Speaks Out. My name is Jair Castellanos. I am an advocate with the Every Child in C Coalition. I was raised in rural Northwestern North Carolina. I am a product of North Carolina Public Schools, specifically Yadkin County Schools. So it's a pleasure to be here with everybody today. We want to thank you for being here. And right before we start the screening, we want to do some housekeeping announcements that we want to share with you all. So one of the biggest reasons we're here today is for resolutions. So we'll be talking about how you can create a resolution in your community. After this event, we will be sending an email with the links to our website to show you how you can start a resolution in your community and what else you need to find out to make sure that you can push for resolutions in your community and how you can make them happen. You can also find this link in the chat. Some of our team members will be working that, so they will be pasting all the links that I talk about in the chat, so please be on the lookout for that. We also want to make sure that we share with everybody that this documentary series is available for more screenings, and there are definitely more films that are going to be shared out. But we want to make sure that you know that this screen for films that we want to screen films from the All Together documentary series. You can download these videos from our website and then get our guide on how you can start your own screening in your own community. We also want to make sure to extend the invitation out for a rally that we'll be having at the end of the month. This rally will be taking place on Saturday, August 27th. It'll be from 10 to noon, and it'll be taking place at the Halifax Mall in Raleigh across from the Legislative Building. We want to make sure that if you need any support with getting there, please let us know. Please put it in the chat. We have some members who will be taking note on those things, and make sure that if you want to come out to that you can get in contact with one of us if you need any support for that. We will have people from all across the state so that we can all come together before the court hearing that will be happening. So to commence, we want to thank you again for joining us for the All Together, which is a documentary film series that tells a story for the fight for education equity in North Carolina. This series is a direct result from people and community groups across the state fighting for a quality education for every child. If you are new to Every Child in C, we especially extend a welcome to you. Every Child in C is a community-led statewide coalition of organizations, parents, teachers, and students who advocate for every child's constitutional right to a sound basic education. We are folks just like you from across the state of North Carolina, speaking out for a strong, vibrant public schools for every child. We are so happy that you are joining us this evening. If you hang around us, you will hear us mention Leandro a lot. Leandro is our landmark state funding lawsuit. This court case is a decades-long effort to ensure that the state uphold our constitutional obligation that requires that every child in North Carolina has access to a sound basic education. After decades of work and advocacy on the Leandro case, we will go to North Carolina Supreme Court again at the end of this month, and this will be a crucial moment for North Carolina's future. Tonight, after the screening, we will be speaking with 3 guests who will help us get the conversation going. We are so thrilled to have them here today. Our first guest is Jackie McLean. She is an educator from Hoke County High School and the president of the Hoke County NAACP. Harry Sutherland is our other guest, who is the Hoke County Commissioner and graduate of NC State University and NC Central University Law School. Our other guest is Rosa McAllister McRae, who is the vice chair of Hoke County School Board and the director of student service operations and a personal counselor for SEC, the Sand Hills Community College. We will invite you to message in comments and questions into the chat. We will be calling on folks to answer these questions. This film will be 11 minutes long, and we want to make sure that everybody enjoys their time. So we will make sure to get the film started shortly. Thank you, everyone. We do want to make sure that folks know that to put any questions that you may want to put, to use the question and answer function that is at the bottom. You can see it, it'll be labeled Q&A. Thank you, everyone.
When you had a deal, okay? The deal was you pull up them grades. I talked to coach about you playing soccer. How we doing with that?
Good.
I says, and you are a board member, and a part of your responsibilities as a board member is to ensure that we have adequate funding to do the job that we're doing here in Hoke County School District. Am I correct? And she says, yes. So I just basically told her what I thought her duties were. We'll see you, okay?
Bye.
You too, babe. Love you guys. See ya. When I came to this campus, I had 65 students that was assigned to me. 40-something of them, they had failed 75% of their first semester. The dropout rate was not looking good, and it wasn't just us, it was across the state. It was indicative of economics. And so I, with the help of some others, handpicked teachers who I thought would be able to really meet the needs of the students. Of course, they met with the family, learned some things about their family, and these kids really felt like they were just thrown away. So the whole idea was to get them to understand that we were here for them. And I'm happy to say that 65, all but 3 of those walked across the stage. My very first graduate, Corey, he had withdrawal issues. His mother was a substance abuser, in and out of lockup from time to time. He didn't talk to many people, but we connected. And it got to the point where he wouldn't talk to anybody but me. Then he says, you think I'm gifted? I says, I know you are. I just encouraged him, just pushed him. His mama saw that we were putting into her son. She got herself together, and she runs the Tia Heart Recovery Program. So you talking about success, and we talk about resilience. This is what I'm saying. It's a picture of myself, Corey, his mom, his mentor, and his tutor, and me and Miss Ford, his graduation. And that was epic for me. That was landmark for me. So don't tell me you can't find the money, because if something is working, why wouldn't we get the money? Why can't we get the money? So when the kids start backpedaling, then you want to say that the teachers, the administration is not doing their job. Well, they don't have the resources.
Small towns are the backbone, really, of North Carolina. And this is how we are in terms of who we are as a people. I'm from Hoke County, born and raised in Hoke County. Walk these school grounds, love Hoke County to death, love it. I'm vested in Hoke County. And for Hoke County to be a part of something so amazing, so historic. I'm not talking about a case that took place in New York or California. I'm talking about something that took place right here in Hoke County. Hoke County is a loving community. It's a community that works together. We have relationships where people really got the same mindset, and they want to put our kids first.
We know each other. It seems like everybody, and I'm not just talking about, African-American people. I am talking about Caucasians, Native Americans, the Hispanic population.
My goal was to come back home and give what I learned to my home community. I could have stayed easily in Durham, North Carolina, where I was residing at the time, but I chose to come back home because I wanted to give back to my community. We're doing great things in Hoke County. We got great people, we got great teachers, we got great staff. We just need the resources so that we could take our kids to the next level.
Our tax base is low. You got 20% of our kids ages 5 to 17 living in poverty. When COVID hit us, I rode the buses. And some days my heart broke because we rode into the neighborhoods where we had to call to the child and say, can you meet us at the edge of the road? Why? Because of the conditions of the roads in which they lived on, the bus couldn't get down there. And if there was a rain, then it was just big holes and potholes. But they would come. How's your mom and dad? When you feed them and you feel that belly, and they say, well, I know they're coming. And because I know they're coming, I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be somebody. And that, I'm so passionate about that. I have my fridge where I store food items, because I had a student that came in one day and she said, Ms. McLean, she said, do you have some crackers or something like that? I said, sure. So I said, if you look in the drawer, So I'm thinking she's just gonna take maybe one pack or whatever. So she said, well, how many can I have? I said, well, how many you think you need? It was about 6 in there, so she took it all but 2. It's not for now. She says, it's just so when I get home, so I have something to eat. So I said, okay. So I didn't mess with it. But the very next day, and the day after that, and she kept coming. So I said to finally, I said, look, what's going on? Do you need food? And she told me. And you just make light of it. It's not an embarrassment when they trust you. Services, again, money, social workers, counselors. That's what we need. So that's what that money can do. With the kids, it's about lifting, and it's about guiding, and then it's also about speaking the truth, and speaking the truth in terms of what we're missing in terms of resources. Poverty is real, and we're still trying to climb our way out of it. And if all they have is this high school base, then give us all that we need in this high school base.
Those kids who have those parents that are struggling, we got to pick those kids up. We cannot sit there and say everybody pick themselves up by their own bootstraps and most of them walking around bootless. We can't do it. How are you going to do that? We have a responsibility to the youth. I want our community to be made whole. And I think that $26 million is a step in the right direction. What we got to do is give back. And the way we give back financially is pull this money down from the state and put it back into our school system.
The goal was to find stakeholders that really wanted to help advance education for our kids. So what we decided to do was, okay, each person is going to take a board member. We'll start with the board members, and then we'll work our way to the commissioners. I got Miss Maynard, and I called Miss Maynard up. Hey, how you doing? I asked her, how much was she aware of Leandro? What do you know about Leandro? Well, she didn't know a whole lot, okay? She said, well, I know we had the lawsuit, but that was pretty much all. She really didn't know the intricate parts of it. So I began to share with her. I said, well, what if I told you thus and thus, and that here we are again, some 20-something years later. You remember when the lawsuit was filed? She said, yeah. I said, okay. I said, well, we won our case, but we didn't get the money, okay? We don't have the money. And she was in agreement with me. I said, so what I have before you, I said, I have a resolution. And this resolution is asking you, first of all, I said, do you believe that we need the money? Do you believe that our students have been denied? Yes, yes. So she said, well, tell me about the resolution. So I read it to her.
My name is Nakia Bell. I attended Hoke County High School between August of '94 through May of 1998. I cheered for Hoke County High School my entire time here, from the 9th grade through the 12th grade. You can still find my varsity pictures hanging up in Buck Alley. That's a sense of pride. If you've been to Hoke County High School, you know where Buck Alley is located and what that means to have photos in Buck Alley. Homecoming is a big deal here. There's a great sense of pride no matter what year you came to attend at Hoke County Schools. Now I have an 11th grade daughter that attends Hoke County High School, and the school is still economically disadvantaged. This has been going on for decades at this point. As an adult, thinking about the Leandro case versus maybe as a teenager or a young adult hearing about it, and just knowing what the impact of things changing can do for our youth and those that live here in the community, it is monumental. And I don't see how anyone that is aware of this case can't agree and feel the same way. I just think that it takes a village. It's not just left up to the parents. It's not left up just to the administrators and the teachers. Everyone as a whole within the community have to come together and agree that this is a situation and it's a serious matter and it needs to be addressed.
The state law says we has one, and our case law says we have a responsibility, the state does, to fund all these school systems. And they can do it. We have the money, we just need to do it. Each child get to start at the same starting line with the same competent certified teachers, the same well-trained principals, the same resources, equitable and adequate resources.
This is a community we're talking about. And when I go back to the doctor, and every time I walk in the grocery store, wherever I go, I want to be met with the same level of care that I feel like I invested.
A lot of people talk about the fact that it's not about money, but the fact is, it is about money. This case is about money because you're not going to get qualified teachers, qualified principals, and the resources you need to be successful for our kids and not have money. You can't do it. It's impossible. So it is about money. It is about making sure that the money flows down to the different counties that needs it.
Oh my gosh, you would see kids being empowered. You would see kids empowering others. You would see kids who understood what it means to give back. That when someone invests in you, you invest in your community. And they will tell their story. If we were able to say to that kid, you know, because you are such an awesome kid and you have such a gift, we want to help nurture that gift. You know, and in nurturing that gift, it gives them a sense that my community, that whole frame thought right there, my community invested in me. And when I thought nobody loved me, that teacher said to me, John, you could do it. Jackie, you could do it. And that's what gives you hope. So when you give hope to a child, that road becomes endless to them. Because when you tell a kid that he can do something, he believes you. Be it resolved that the Hoke County Board of Education requests that the North Carolina General Assembly fully enact the policy and funding reforms included in the Leandro plan to ensure that all North Carolina students have access to a sound basic education by the 2028 school year.
All right, so welcome back, everybody. I'll give folks a minute to think about some questions or some comments that they may want to share with the group. And again, we'll be using the Q&A function for that. So if you have any questions or comments that you would want to make, please refer to the Q&A portion of your options down there. It will be labeled Q&A. So to give folks some time to think, I will be sharing a little short story that we had. We were honored to debut this film a few weeks ago with the NAACP Hoke County members, Miss Jackie, and local school community leaders and advocates. As an important reminder came up that night, which was that Hoke isn't asking for anything more than exactly what their students are owed. They know more than anyone else that we have already won the Leandro case. The Leandro case has already been decided. And these advocates aren't asking for bells and whistles. What they're asking for is the bare minimum, what their children are entitled to, which is a sound basic education. They know that what they're asking for is what their children and their public schools need now more than ever. So with that, we'll be shifting gears a little so that we can start the Q&A portion of this webinar. So first, what I would like to do is we've already done a little introduction of our speakers today, but we want to give them the time and the space to introduce themselves, what they do and why this work is important to them. So I will turn it over first to Miss Jackie, then to Mr. Harry, and then Miss Rosa.
Okay, can you hear me? Can everybody hear me?
We can. Just a little staticky, but we can hear you.
Okay. I may have to shift positions or change this device. But at any rate, I am Jackie McLean. Certainly have been involved in this work for quite some time now. I love what I'm doing, and the reason I'm doing what I'm doing, I'm inspired and motivated by the fact that when we, I'm not saying if, but when we achieve this goal of getting that money released, what it will do for our students, what it will do for our teachers, what it will do for our whole school system. It is so important that we fight for our children's right to be educated. It is important to me as a citizen of Hoke County that the work that we do leaves our kids with the knowledge that we care. And not only that, it creates an opportunity for growth. It creates an opportunity for education. It creates an opportunity for economics. And not only that, when we fund education, it is a gift that continuously gives. Our students are able to move forward. They're able to be globally competitive with strong leadership skills and strong knowing that the community, Hoke County, supports them. I love what I do. It brings joy to me every day to invest in the lives and well-being of our students. But most importantly, we can't do this work without skilled teachers. We have a shortage and a deficit every year. We can't do that. Our students can't get what they need without the teachers. We need strong leadership in our school system. And without that, Hoke County will continue to fail our students. And when I say we'll continue to fail our students, I don't mean we, those of us that are advocating for this education, but those legislators, those who profess to be concerned about our students' well-being and concerned about the education, concerned about closing the achievement gap, and all of those things that our legislators say that they are concerned about becomes just a bunch of talk. It just becomes political rhetoric, and they're not doing the job. And we, as a body of a community, should galvanize as what we've been doing to say to our legislators, we're not going anywhere. We're going to continue to advocate. We're going to continue to push because our children deserve this. They deserve this. This is not something we're begging for. It's what they are rightly entitled to according to the Constitution. So that is why I do what I do. It is the thing that gives me great joy. It is the thing that I want students to understand. I want the community to understand. We all in this together. When one of our students is successful, our community is successful. When our students are failing, then we are failing. So let us not continue to fail our children as we're speaking to the legislators and fund this money, give us this money, give our children what is due them.
Good evening. I'm Harry Sutherland, Hoke County Commissioner. I'm born and bred Hoke County. I graduated from here in 1985. Can somebody say go Bucks? But that's okay. What I want you to know is that what I want you to know is that for a long time I've been fighting for the disenfranchised and the disadvantaged, and this case is so important to North Carolina, not only just Hoke County, but North Carolina, because we got so many out of these 100 counties where these people and our children have been, we say, left behind. But this case, Leandro case, you know, we won it, and we won really the award was $1.7 billion. Now it's been watered down a little bit by another judge till about 700 million, but still that's a lot of money to be trickled down to our counties. And for many, many years, if I can borrow the words of Dr. King, the state wrote us a bad check. Our children had a bad check. But now, from 94 to now, we've been fighting to make the county and make the state make good on these checks for our kids. And so they got to do that. We have the funding, we have the money. Our state of North Carolina is probably in one of the best financial positions it's been in since a long time. COVID did not hurt North Carolina. As a matter of fact, it made North Carolina in a better financial state than it was prior to COVID. So this $1.7 billion or the 700 million will not hurt the state in any way or put the state in some type of disadvantage. We need to take care of our kids. They are our priority, and we should not stop until every child and every county receive the funding that they deserve.
Good evening. My name is Rosalind McAllister-McCray, and I'm very thrilled to be here. And I will say, go Bucks. I graduated a little bit before Harry. I'm not going to tell you what year that was, but I'm very concerned about the state owing us this money. I do know I started on the Board of Ed in 2004, and around that time, the state was really looking at us to sort of take over because our graduation rate was pretty low. By 2006, I'm thinking it was like 41, 42%. But then we had a young man to come in, and he stayed with us for about 15 years, Dr. Freddie Williamson, and he put in some resources, and we had resources. Now even though the state was giving us unfunded mandates and giving us all these things that we had to do, our graduation rate moved up, and probably like 2019 to like 85.5%. So just think what we can do with the money if we had it, and we had unfunded mandates. And we're in a good place now. We have a lot of programs and curriculums for the students, but we deserve, certainly like Jackie said, we deserve, or the students deserve, to get ahead. I'm sure, with COVID, I'm sure we sort of backed up a little bit, when it comes to education, because all of us had to, revamp. Actually, we were one of the poorest counties, and we were one of the first counties that get the one-to-one devices, and we thank God for the legislators and the county commissioners, for helping us out doing that. But we can do more. There's always more, some people want to privatize, and that's why it doesn't seem like we're sort of getting the money. But public school is a great thing. I'm born and bred public school, and I came out all right. It seems like Harry came out all right. Young man, you came out okay, right? And so we need public schools because everybody can't afford private, but we need the same things in public schools like they have in private schools. And then we don't need them to take away, we understand, I don't want to get into the charter schools and everything, but we don't need anybody to take away anything from us because our students need it and they deserve it. Again, I'm Rosa McAllister-McCray. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for those powerful introductions to all of our panelists. So we do want to impose another question. I know that one of the biggest reasons we're here is, again, for resolutions. So I wanted to ask, especially with this long, hard-fought battle in Hoke County, what has the process been like? What would you recommend other people do who may want to start this process in their communities? What tips do you have? What challenges did you have to overcome? How did you overcome? And just share any insight that you may have into how this battle has been for you and what you have done to overcome it.
Well, I would start the conversation. Being an elected official, you want to go talk to your state representative. It doesn't matter if they're independent, Democrat, or Republicans, because what matters is the children and their basic education. So sometimes people make this, they try to politicize this issue, but it's not. It's about a sound basic education for our children. So you got to talk, you got to communicate across the aisle, because the issue is what's important, not the party. And the elected officials sometimes have to get past that. When they do, then they have children, they have grandkids, so they understand the need of educating our kids in the state of North Carolina. So that's one of the biggest hurdles, is just getting over this political hurdle about who's and what's what. It doesn't really matter. What matters at the end of the day is who's going to get a sound basic education. It doesn't matter whether I'm Democrat or Republican, independent. It doesn't matter, none of that stuff. But our kids are going to suffer when the adults don't make the right decision and come together and unify on this issue.
Jackie and Christina Davis McCoy and all of those people, those private people, those people that really cared and was concerned about the resolution, sort of came to me. But I was, certainly agree with everything that they were doing. I did know about the Leandro case when someone came to me. And so like Commissioner Sutherland says, that, we got to get past our own personal agenda and look at what's best for the children and for the students, and what we can do even in as they go to post-secondary, what we can offer in the school system. But again, they came to me and I was just on board. So I wasn't on the ground, beating the ground, they were. I just happened to just jump on the wagon, and thank God that I did, because I'm very much, in favor of this. And so, but again, I wasn't, I wasn't at the ground level. They were knocking on doors, calling people, asking, people, and they did a wonderful job. But I am certainly in agreement with what they've done. And again, we have to not look at our personalities, what we need to agree. If we agree on the same thing concerning this, then that's all that matters. We don't have to talk about anything else. Do you think your child deserves an education? Do you think your child deserves, or your grandchild, or your niece, or your neighbor, or the people, the children that's in your neighborhood? Do you think they deserve a sound education? Because they're the folks of tomorrow. So they're your doctors and your lawyers and so they need the education. And so if we can agree upon that, then we can agree upon, let's fight to get this money, and let's come together, as a community, on one accord, saying the same thing, speaking the same language, so to speak. To get this done.
Thank you for your answers. And I know that we definitely want to hear from Miss Jackie. Has mentioned she was one of the ones who was on the ground doing this work. So again, I want to remind folks that if you have any questions that you would like to ask the panelists, please refer to our Q&A function. If there's a question that the team can answer, they will be answering it to you directly. But if you want to ask a question directly to one of the panelists, please feel free to put it in the Q&A. So Miss Jackie, I'll turn it over to you.
I'm actually trying to find a good spot so that I understand that I'm real choppy, so I don't know if you give me a nod of affirmation, whether or not you can clearly hear me. I'm trying to log into another computer, and so it's asking me for a wait, and I don't know what that's going to do. So I apologize, guys, for that. But again, with respect to what has been shared, yes, one of the goals of the NAACP as it relates to education is to ensure that every child, and particularly children of color, has adequate access to a sound basic education. And that is one of the things that we do as, I would say, community watchers. You know, we are the eyes and ears of the children. And oftentimes parents don't fully understand their own rights. So what we challenge ourselves to do is to be advocates not only for our children, but also for our parents. And in thus, when we're advocates for our children and our parents, then we'll improve our community. One of the things that we did, we had a invitational meeting to our community that if you believe, as Ms. Rosen Council just said, if you believe that your children deserve a sound basic education, if you believe that your children should be a priority in your school system, then join us and meet us here. And at that place, we met with some parents and we began to talk about what our plans were. We also wrote a grant with the Justice Center, and in that grant, we will be facilitating, again, parent advocacy tools to engage parents in such a way that when they do attend board meetings, when they do attend their parent-teacher conferences, that they are able to ask the questions that need to be asked. You know, ask about adequate supplies and resources. When my daughter was attending Hoke County Schools some years ago, I was one of those parents that would ask the questions. There was a situation in math and science in which there were not enough of textbooks for the kids to take home so that they could do their work. So they had to pretty much do the work in class. I offered to buy a math book. I offered to buy a science book. And then the other thing with the science book was that there were labs included in the syllabus for the semester. And when I asked about the labs and to see the labs, it was just a room with a sink. But there were none of the supplies, of the tools or resources that would be needed in order for the kids to engage in direct hands-on. So my question to the teacher was, how are we going to do this? How is she going to master this course if she don't have what she needs? And at that time, when we heard from Rob was sharing that they would tune in through video as to what was going on in Duke. They will watch science projects being carried out on film from another school system in order for them to do what they needed to do. So yes, it was so important to the association in NAACP that we galvanize and that we speak to our legislators, that we speak to our county commissioners, that we speak to our board of education, and we invite them to join us, to partner with us as we pursue adequate funding for our kids. So that is, again, one of those driving forces for me. And not just, as Harry said, not just our kids, but consider the state of North Carolina. There was a period when I joined the campus of Hoke County High School in 2008. There was over 11,000 kids that dropped out of school during that time. That was staggering. And we were amongst those who had a very high dropout rate. But as we just have said, and as Rosa has said, and as I can attest to, we are well on our way. However, just consider how much more can we provide for our students with that money that belongs to us. Not that we're begging for, but it belongs to us. So I would love to hear from others that are in the room tonight on your perspective, your thoughts, and whether or not you would like to join this advocacy pool and join us, and also be a voice in your respective areas of community.
Thank you.
I hope you guys heard me.
Yes, we could. Thank you for your answer. We really appreciate your insight. We are having some questions coming in from the chat, so I would want to ask some of the ones that are coming in. So the first one that I am seeing, are your legislators in support of full Leandro funding? If so, are they working to convince other legislators? If not, do you have candidates who can elect who will support full funding? So to answer that question real quick, Every Child in Sea does have a candidate pledge with candidates who have pledged that they are in support of Leandro that can be shared out. So that can give you guys a little bit of insight into that question, but I'll turn it over to the panelists to answer the first couple of questions. Are your legislators in support of full Leandro funding? If so, are they working to convince other legislators?
I personally speak with Representative Garland Pierce on a weekly basis. I would contend that I talk to Representative Pierce at least 3 times a week, including the weekends. I'm also in contact with Senator Ben Clark, and I would tell you personally that both of them are in full support of this Leandro case, and also they're in full support of us receiving these funds. And so when we did our resolution as commissioners, they were in support of our resolution as well. Now, I know specifically speaking, Representative Pierce has been talking with other of his colleagues out in Raleigh on the state level about trying to move forward with this money. But we got to make sure we go across the aisles and speak with everyone to try to get a majority of votes to get this money pushed down to all the counties. But they are in conversation with other of their other colleagues.
Yes, and I concur with Harry. I am on personal name and contact with both Senator Clark and Representative Garland Pierce. And I can say from the day that we hit the ground running, they have been big supporters and big advocates, and have just been carrying the banner with us. So yes, they are working with us, and I know that they are also trying to work across the aisle to get other opponents to come aboard.
Yeah, I agree with both of them. I know them personally as well, and so we're in a small county, and so I know both of them know about it, and they are on board, and they want us to have the money. Yeah, certainly.
Great, thank you for your answers. So another question that we had is, after you got the resolution, where did you go? Where did it go next? And did it go to the North Carolina General Assembly? And if so, how did this happen? Did you get a response from the leaders?
On behalf of the county commissioners, ours went directly to the General Assembly. And what we did was we sent it through Representative Pierce. So from Representative Pierce, it was sent to the entire body of the North Carolina legislature. We did get response back from Garland Pierce that it was received and that they're looking into it. But of course, they got to put it on the agenda to make a decision on it.
Ditto, Harry.
Perfect, thank you. So another question that we had is, this could somewhat be interpreted as almost a pride thing, right? Because a lot of the thing is that we want to make sure that kids take pride in their education, that they take pride in what they're doing at school. So why is this important to the people of Hoke County specifically? If anything could be said about that.
I'll go ahead and start off again. I was born and raised in Hoke County, grew up in Hoke County, and my mother worked in a factory for 33 years to raise me and my sister. So we had humble beginnings, and she did the best she could. So she had no additional income to help adequately supply us with resources for school. She was doing the best she could just to make ends meet so that we could survive. So when we go to school and we don't have these resources, we don't have qualified principals or competent teachers or just supplies to compete just on a basic level with other students across different counties, it put us behind. So when we try to graduate and go off to college, we're already behind. And so this is very prideful for us because we lived through it. I walked in those shoes. Rob is really, I'm 10 years in front of Rob. So I know what was going on before Rob because I was a part of that. And I can personally, see what's going on because I lived through it. But the good thing about it is that we had caring teachers. We had loving teachers. We had loving administrators. We didn't have the money, but we had people that would push us, even though we didn't have the resources, and that carried us through. But we need this money to take care of our kids going forward. We cannot continue to the money that's due to us. Keep asking for money that's due to us. We need to demand this money, because for so long, the state of North Carolina has failed our kids.
I think we would be very prideful because, we're already doing a plethora of great things. When you look at our school district, again, we were one of the poorest counties, but one of the first to have one-to-one devices. And I've said that before. We were so we were the first at a lot of things. However, we had to, get some miscellaneous money, get some ADM money, just try to, figure out how we can get the money to service the students any old how. But certainly we would want to bring in, this has been a long time coming. And I'm sort of like Ms. McLean now, when it get here, not if, when it get here, then we certainly want to include the students, because then they'll know that, they might not have to pay for ACT test. They might not have to pay for or SAT test, because, they might have resources that they could be in those type programs to get them ready to, take these exams. I'm not saying that they're the best exams, but that's what we give. So yes, certainly. And then they'll know, yeah, well, I'm well on our way, not just for the exams per se, but just different resources that we will have to connect them to universities, and we do have a lot of programs now, but certainly we'll be prideful. It's Buck Pride. We talk about it all the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what I wanted to add is that not only as we are talking about the pride part, but just consider how much more we could provide for our early childhood kids. Those kids that will be coming to school at 3 and 4 and 5, how much more can we give, and how many more students can we include in that enrollment? There are children that need to be in school, but for funding's sake and for other shortfalls, they're not able to come. So just think about if every child that was kindergarten eligible or preschool eligible had an opportunity to come without being turned away, what that would do for our education system, and what that would do to give our kids a fighting chance from a Head Start perspective. And that's where it starts, because again, our children, and particularly our children of color, do not oftentimes get the benefit of these Head Starts. And this money will be able to provide those extra dollars so that we can include every child, and no child shall be left behind. And I'm not being whatever the term is, no child will be left behind as far as getting a fair shake at a starting point, And when we talk about equity, it is so important. How much more with a child who doesn't get a chance to start school because one, income barriers or what have you, and then a child who gets a head start? Consider how much behind that child coming into kindergarten after having to sit out a whole year behind the child that got that start. That's what this money will do. That's what pride will do. And pride not in a selfish thing, but, to say, hey, we are digging deep and we're making sure that all of our babies get a fair start and, and get a leg in this game, so that when they come to school, they are ready and we can move forward, And so that is pride. And as Rosa said, years ago, Hoke County was #1 in teen pregnancy, okay? And this was in the late 90s, early 2000. And I know because I worked with the CDC on lowering that image. And we worked hard, myself along with Christina Davis McCoy and the leadership, who was the leadership of the Hope County Blue Springs CDC and others, the health department. We worked hard and diligently to educate, to provide resources so that that number will come down. We didn't want to be first in teen pregnancy. We wanted to be first in education. And so this is what pride will do. This is, yes, so it is an element of pride, not puffed up pride, not arrogant pride, but to say that, yes, I fight for our children. And when we say at the high school, but pride, you know, we want the world to know. So yeah, but pride.
Thank you so much for your answers, and I definitely feel the passion through the computer. But I know that we're coming up on time, so I want to ask one last final question. And if you guys have any final thoughts that you would like to share, please do so at the end of the question. But this a question that closes out, and it has already been touched somewhat. But what would you say to the opponents of Leandro that claim that the districts have the funding that they need, and that the problem is local mismanagement of those dollars?
You know what? I have to laugh to keep from really getting upset because, I always quote Dr. King, because what they're saying to you is that you kids and you parents, you guys can pick yourselves up by your own bootstraps, but you walk around bootless. You don't have any straps. The problem is that we are in a low income area. Now, the county is doing very well because of the leadership that's in place. But initially starting out in 94, we were in a very low wealth, low income area. So when you're in those areas, just common sense tell you that the funding typically go to the high income areas. Wake County, Mecklenburg County, Forsyth County, Pender County, those places where they have a lot of industry and a lot of income, a lot of money. So those schools get those resources. It's just common sense. So I'm disappointed because I think the people that are saying that are either doing it politically because they don't want to fund it, or because I think they know better. And that's why I'm disappointed, because they really, truly know better than what they're saying. The goal is to level the playing field at the end of the day. In my closing remark, I want to level the playing field. I want it to be so that every kid in North Carolina, from Anson County all the way down to Pender County, can start at the same starting point. They have the same opportunities, the same resources, the same particular qualified principals, the same competent teachers. Then they have the opportunity to become engineers, doctors, lawyers, just like anybody else. They can make those decisions along the way. But if you strap them down, if you handicap them, they're at a disadvantage before they even start, before the guns go off. They're at a disadvantage. And that's what we got to do. We got to stop playing politics and give these kids a fighting chance to be great.
Jackie touched on, different populations like African Americans and, people of color, and we all know, whether we want to say it or not, we all know that, in my time, like Harry, my parents worked in, my mother was like a CNA, which didn't bring much money home. My father worked, for the county, but they didn't have any education. Now just think about it. I'm a first gen, right? So but my parents pushed me, and they taught me, and it was like, whatever you want to do, but they didn't have the money to send me. Now you got to understand, we have now dual enroll programs, right? What that is we have programs in high school that you have college classes in high school. But now at the college, you need a 2.0 to get in, but at the high school, you need a 3.0. So that's right there is an obstacle, right? So why do you need a 3.0 at the high school to take a college level class, and at college you need a 2.0, right? So right then, you know that we got to do more. We have to do more, so the student can get, the 3.0, or she can get a 2.7 or 2.8 and then get it signed off by the principal or whatever, So we're not even really starting, especially the first generation, right? We're not starting like equally. We're not starting on the same level. Our parents didn't have an education. They want us to have it. They root for us and they cheering for us. But we and they send us to school and they want us to learn, but then they working at night. They telling us to go home and, feed your sister. How? Everybody's not lazy. People have situation and things and obstacles and things at home that they have to attend to. So sometimes school, they're doing their homework way late. And sometimes they don't get it done. You got to meet the person where they are. So still, I truly believe that everybody deserves it. And those people that are saying, oh, they can do better, they just, those are not the right people that we need in our corner. Because like Harry, I'm taking a little back, because the money is there, and we were supposed to have the money. So so you're saying that, oh well, they already know, and we're in one of the poorest counties now. Now we're not the poorest, we was the poorest, but the military came in and everybody came in, so we're not the poorest. But we're next to one of the richest. We're next to Moore County. And they're getting a lot of things. And I understand that, but don't knock us, because again, we've conquered some unfunded mandates. We've done good with unfunded mandates. Now it's time to give us our money. So we can, get resources so these children can go to college or go take the next step, post-secondary, whatever they want to do, So yeah, it's a little disturbing, but.
And my closing, I would like to say, as we have talked about our children, and earlier I mentioned our teachers and our administrators. Well, let me tell you, I don't have to tell you guys, because guess what? Salaries matter. Rosa and Harry both were talking about the struggles of their families, making ends meet. Well, we got awesome teachers, but they're not making ends meet. Why? Because they're not getting a salary that is commensurate with the skills and the talent that they're bringing to that classroom. That is undeniably a raw deal to these teachers. We talk about making sure that our kids rise to the occasion. Well, the money has to rise to the occasion also. Our teachers need to be paid handsomely. They need to be paid well. And then here we have this, I've never in my days seen where you put a cap on someone's ability to earn an income, and education does just that. How do you cap a teacher's ability to earn at a certain level? You encourage them to get masters and doctorates, and then some are not even getting master's pay. To me, that is a slap in the face when we say we can't pay them. Well, with this money, we can pay them. Moore County, Cumberland County, and Stockton County can laugh when they look at our paychecks compared to their paychecks. Okay? We may be small in number, small in stature, but we have a big heart and we have a passion for what we do in terms of education. I know teachers, I know administrators that have said to me, Jackie, if we had the money, we could do this. I've asked different administrators that I've had, why can't we do this? And why don't we have this program? And it always comes to that dollar. And then we have teacher turnover, and the teacher turnover rate is staggering. When I look at our monthly Board of Education meeting minutes, and I go down that list to see who's resigning, who's leaving, who's retiring. Well, I don't even consider the retirement part, but those teachers that are resigning for whatever reason, when you're looking at every month anywhere from 15 to 20 teachers leaving, then you say, well, how are we going to replace that quality of teacher? What are we going to offer to get that teacher back into this classroom? We should never fail our children with having to come back to school without adequate funded classrooms and teachers who are properly paid. That is ridiculous. You can't say to an educator, do the best you can with what you have when the money is sitting there in the bank. So yes, I'm very passionate about this. And yes, I will continue to speak about it because the disparities continue, and it's our children at the end of the day who suffer at the end of the day.
Definitely, I appreciate all those answers. I definitely love the energy. As you all know, this has been a long, hard-fought battle. And I know that we're over time, so just allow me a couple more minutes of your time for some last-minute announcements that we have. Again, the main reason that we're here is for the resolutions that Hoke County has fought so hard to push, and we want to make sure that other communities who also want to be a part of this movement get these resolutions in their own communities. So if you want to create your own, we will be sending you an email after this event that will send you the link to the website to show you how. You will also be able to find the links in the chat. So please be on the lookout for that. We also want to make sure to remind everybody that this documentary series is available to be screened in different communities. So please make sure that you check that out. The link will be in the chat. It will have the registration form. Once you register, then you will receive an email with how you can organize a screening like this in your classrooms, in your churches, in your own backyard to get more people to know about this issue. So please look for that in the chat. We also want to make sure to again invite everybody to come join us for the rally that'll be happening on August 27th. That is Saturday, again from 10 to noon. It'll be in Halifax Mall in Raleigh, right across from the legislative building. Please let us know if you need any help getting there. We want to make sure that we get everybody who wants to be there to also be there. We also want to remind everybody that we have full actions coming up this month. Of course, one of them being press conference that Ms. Jackie will actually be one of the guest speakers that day. We'll also be having a prayer vigil right after that with our partners from Pastors for NC Children. So we want to make sure that we invite everybody to all these events. Again, I want to make sure that everybody is good on time. So again, thank you everybody for joining us today. Thank you to our amazing speakers, and thank you for the team who made this happen. Again, thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys, and thank everyone for attending.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time.